Abuja has a master plan. The FCT administration is determined to return what applies right now to the original plan. It's going to be a hard job that will cause many tears, but they're getting it done. And if you have built your house in Abuja on planes designed for something else, you may be shedding those tears soon, like the people in our feature story. Part of the reason why the Abuja master plan has been tampered with is population explosion and the ability to handle the level of rural-urban migration Abuja deals with. In our interview, we speak with the Federal Commissioner of the National Population Commission, Dr. Eitayo Oyetunji. Should we gear up for a population boom or burst? And of course, we have our Abuja rap. This is Dateline Abuja. Hello and welcome to Dateline Abuja. I am Kayla Megwa. Let's begin by taking a look at some of the major stories that made the news from Nigeria's seat of power.
President Muhammadu Buhari has saluted the courage of the governors of Zamfara and Cross River states who recently decamped from the People's Democratic Party to the All Progressives Congress. The president received the decampees alongside the chairman of the caretaker committee of the party and governor of Yobe State, Mai Malabuni, the chairman of the Progressives Governors Forum, Governor Atiku Bagudu of Kebbi State, as well as Governor Muhammad Abubakar of Jigawa State.
We respect our people, no matter how low. This was why we emphasize free, fair elections. I thank you very much. I welcome you. I assure you that your people will respect you more for having the courage, to come to the party at your own time.
Meanwhile, the president also met separately with Governor Babagana Zulum of Borno State, who is soliciting support of the president for the repatriation of 200,000 refugees from neighboring countries.
Now that we have started witnessing gradual return of peace to Borno State, these people of Borno State that are taking refuge in our neighboring countries are willing to return home. And therefore, Borno State government has fixed a date of 27th of November 2021 for the commencement of the repatriation process, especially to local government areas.
President Muhammadu Buhari also had a meeting with members of the National Assembly, where he reiterated his administration's resolve to tackle all forms of insecurity in the country.
Insecurity manifesting as insurgencies, banditry, kidnapping, and urban crime of all sorts is the single most difficult challenge we face today. Insecurity gets in the way of our ability to build infrastructure, provide the much needed social services to our people, and to attract investment that drive innovation, create industries, and provide jobs and create wealth. Some of the people who perpetuate these various manifestations of insecurity do so for profit. Others in the name of discredited ideologies. Whatever their motivations may be, their actions are an existential threat to our country. In the circumstances, we must do everything within our power without consideration of distractions to put an end to their activities and bring them to book. We cannot allow ourselves to be distracted from this objective or waver in our commitment. And I am confident that together we will triumph in our present efforts.
In the meantime, the House of Representatives has presented the report of the Special Security Summit to the President. The Speaker said the summit became imperative after the lawmakers were daily being besieged by their constituents to do something about the security challenges facing the country.
As we said from day one, we will bring the report to Mr. President for action on the recommendations. And he has graciously accepted, which he did even before the summit. And we are hopeful and believe that many of the recommendations, both the legislative and the executive, once implemented, will go a long way to resolving some of the issues, if not all, some of the issues that pervade our society in terms of security. We felt that it was time that we thought outside the box.
President Buhari has pledged the country's continued support for the African peer review mechanism process because of its benefits to good governance and democracy. The president gave the assurance at the launch of Nigeria's second review country self-assessment report and flag off of the validation of the report at the 6 geopolitical zones of the country, including the Federal Capital Territory.
Agenda 2063 is a strategic framework for the socio-economic transformation of the African continent over the next 50 years, with a strong mandate on NEPAD and African peer review mechanism. This is in an attempt to build on and seek the acceleration of the implementation of past and present continental initiatives for the growth and sustainable development of the African continent. This exercise will be a strong reference point in the nation's history, a source of courage and positive drive for the initiative that is aimed at consolidating the strides of this present administration. In addition, this administration has been very supportive and will continue to support the African review mechanism process in Nigeria, knowing the importance of the process, which enhances transparency and good governance, strengthens our democracy, identifies and addresses critical challenges, as well as promotes all inclusiveness.
President Muhammadu Buhari says Nigeria will offer its full backing to ensure that the Republic of Cameroon remains an indivisible country. The president gave the assurance when he received a special envoy from President Paul Biya of Cameroon in the State House. Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo is encouraging the Nigerian contingent to the Tokyo Olympics, reminding them that they are standing on the shoulders of past Olympians and must conduct themselves in a way that will bring pride to the country. He was speaking at the unveiling of Team Nigeria's official outfit and send-forth ceremony to the Tokyo Olympic Games. Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo has presided over the 118th National Economic Council meeting, where the balance of the nation's accounts was discussed, updates on COVID-19 vaccinations and infections, as well as a comprehensive disaster management plan at state levels. The Federal Executive Council has approved the sum of 309.9 billion naira for road contracts, which will be handled by the Dangote Group. The Minister of Works and Housing, Mr. Babatunde Fashola, told a media briefing after the weekly council meeting that 5 road projects totaling 274.9 kilometers under the federal government's Road Infrastructure Tax Credit Facility will be advanced by the Dangote Industries as tax credits.
Welcome back. Now, the FCT administration has moved from plan to action and are well on their way to restore the Abuja master plan. A lot of the infrastructure issues faced in Abuja is because of the city's inability to handle the influx of people from all over the country. One could argue that the solution might be a long-term one. Ensure other subnationals are properly developed and the people will not have to move. But that's a conversation for another day. Meanwhile, bring in the demolition man. Please watch this.
The Federal Capital Territory was created upon the promulgation of Decree No. 6 of 1976. It was carved out of the Old Kwara State, Old Plateau State, Niger State and Kaduna State. The territory has a land area of about 8,000 square kilometers. Prior to the takeover, the population density was sparse, with residents living in about 700 villages within the territory. The plan was to resettle and compensate the natives as development catches up with their communities, which will then be demolished to give room for the nation's capital to meet global standard.
Cities and urban areas are not places of cheap land values. They actually go with very great cost to government in this case. And to maximize that great cost and to give Nigeria that befitting status of Abuja as a federal capital, designs within the city confines are usually actually of great standard.
The years that followed saw several buildings, residential and public buildings springing up around the city, especially in the area known as the Federal Capital City. However, on the fringes of the city, the natives reside in small communities. Over time, these communities have been demolished by authorities, leaving in their trails of anger and rage. The exercise lasted for 8 hours with heavy security personnel to avoid the breakdown of law and order. The team comprised mainly men of the Nigeria Police Force, Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, Nigeria Army, Nigeria Immigration Service, Nigeria Air Force, Abuja Environmental Protection Board, as well as officials of the FCT Department of Development Control.
They did not even give us time to move out anything. They did not even give us time to beg. We pleaded, but yet all our beg was just in vain. They demolished everything. As I speak right now, my ND result is right here in this ground now. I can't even find it. Tell me, how do I proceed for my HND?
Initially, they said it was because of the flood, that they were about to open dam or something. But at least they should have served notice that for us to know when to move out. Even if it's a 3 months notice, 4 months notice, tell us when they will come back. There was nothing like that. They just came, marked our house on the 14th. You know, normally they usually put the date of when they will come back, but they didn't. They just only wrote the date, the day they came.
Painful thing is that most of us students, due to this corona pandemic, we were not around. Some of us came from different areas. For massacre, far location Lagos, to come and meet our documents. We can't even see themselves. My own pass and my laptop, I can't find it.
In less than 2 weeks, over 800 structures were demolished in several parts of the nation's capital, leaving the occupants to wander in search of where to put up amid the security threats and the prevailing economic hardship. This is part of the FCT administration's plan to remove every contravention and illegal buildings within the nation's capital, as the administration moves to avert further distortion of the city's development plans.
We all came back is because of the fact that we've not finished the cleanup. We thought we had gone very far, not until we looked the other way and saw that the land use contravention appears to be very, very high, very disturbing. So we had to come back again today to continue the cleanup. Many thanks to the Development Control Department and Director of Security. They put us together and ensured that we got our 4 to 5 machines. And the 4 to 5 machines, really, you could see that the work was massive. The cleanup was massive. Extremely, they are buying lands from local chiefs that was not approved. They build without building plan approval. 3, they build substandard structures. So much of land use contravention because persons plan the city. Planners have come and they've planned the city, and when we start to contravene, it's just the FCTA mandate to take it out.
In the meantime, the task force is insisting on carrying out the exercise in other communities where the residents have contravened the Abuja master plan. Some of those listed include Mpape, Dulce Makaranta, and Ushafa.
Here on Dateline Abuja, we like to explore long-term solutions. What is the long-term solution to a population rise? And if you think there are too many people now, wait till the pandemic ends and these COVID babies grow up. My guest is Dr. Eyitayo Oyetunji. According to him, if the right measures are not put in place now, we're heading for more hot water in the next few years. Dr. Oyetunji, welcome to Dateline Abuja.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be on this good program.
Well, we just joined the rest of the world to celebrate World Population Day, and we're looking at the correlation between reproductive health and COVID-19. Talk to us about the relationship between these two terms.
Yes, the theme for this year really is focusing on not just reproductive health, but the choices that women can make, their rights, and also their health. No doubt, the COVID-19 pandemic, especially the lockdown, had effects on health in general and health services in general. But we believe that the impact was more on the women and girls. And now that we have passed, or we're passing out of the lockdown era, the aim is first to see how we can reverse some of the negative impact it had on women and how to further promote the rights, the choices, and health of women. The idea is we shouldn't be focusing so much on the demographics while at the expense of the actors themselves. So during the lockdown, the proposition was that because there were disruptions in services, family planning services, and so on, and because of the lockdown, which meant that couples, families were at home, the proposition was that there was likely to be an increase in fertility in the post-COVID-19 era. That proposition has not been substantiated by any data. But what we're saying is whether that is so or not, that is whether we'll have a baby boom after the COVID-19 or not, should not preoccupy us too much. What we should focus on is how to improve the lot of women and girls.
Because that was actually going to be my next question. Is there proof? Because this is not just a Nigerian question. This is something that has been discussed all over the world. There's talk about COVID babies and the fact that, you know, with the lockdown around the world, there was an increase in reproduction, so to speak, you know, and that we should, the long-term effect, it may seem like a small thing, you know, in the beginning, but the long-term effect, you know, could be something that many countries will have to grapple with. Will Nigeria have to grapple with a baby boom at some point? Is there going to be a population explosion? Because the figures are actually coming in, even though you say that there is nothing to state that this has happened already. But we're seeing figures coming in from IDP camps.
Yes, like I said, the indices, the factors presupposes that we should expect a boom. I mean, if people were locked in and yet you had disruption in services to family planning. In other words, you're locked in at a time when you cannot actually have access to family planning services. The expectation should be that there will be an increase. But like I said, the increase is not, the effect is not expected to be the same for all countries. In some countries, it may be a bust. In some countries, it may be a boom. And that's why this year's theme for the world population is saying, hey, don't let's focus too much on whether it's going to be a boom or a bust. Rather, especially for us in Nigeria, let us focus on those negative things that happen to women and girls during the lockdown.
Do we have to pick one or the other? Isn't that something? Can't we do both at the same time while ensuring that women's reproductive health, you know, and access to all of these things that are available for women, making sure that that access is there, and then planning against a baby boom, a potential baby boom? Does it have to be one or the other? Can't we focus on both?
For us in Nigeria, we've always focused on the other. In other words, for us, especially at the National Population Commission, we've always been concerned about the rapid growth of the Nigerian population.
Has the pandemic impacted on our growth as a country in terms of numbers of people? Has this happened?
It might happen, let me put it that way, because we don't have the figures. But what we're saying is, for example, just a couple of, maybe 3 weeks ago,
the Federal Executive Council approved the National Population Policy. And central to that policy is management of the population in such a manner that we can reduce the rate of growth. Be careful, mind my words, I didn't say the size of the Nigerian population, but the rapidity of the growth. That's what we're concerned about. It's like a child that is growing up rapidly. Managing his needs is challenging. About the time you buy his shoes, before you know it, he has outgrown that shoes. And that's what happens when you have a rapidly growing population, as we have in Nigeria. And we're saying, like you just said, that if we already have this problem and then the pandemic increases the rate of growth, then we need to double our effort. But rather than getting fixated with that challenge, let's continue to focus on those arrangements we have made, and let's also focus on the women. Because we noticed that apart from increase in population, during the pandemic, there were increases in gender-based violence against women and girls, increase in harmful practices against women and girls, a disruption of reproductive health services, which was already fragile, for women and girls. We have a very high maternal mortality rate in Nigeria, 513 thereabout, 100,000 births. That is already high. And then we did have a pandemic that also now exacerbated, access to maternal health and reproductive health. So we're saying that as a first step, let's take actions to reverse whatever has happened to women and girls.
Former President Olusegun Obasanjo had raised concerns that the nation's population could be a liability by 2050, when we are predicted to be the third largest population in the world. Do you agree with him?
Yeah, if we go at the rate we're going, yes. For us at the National Population Commission, for example, the projections are obvious. Whether we reduce population or not today, there's already a built-in momentum that our population we continue to increase for the next 50 or so years. There's nothing we can do to stop that because the momentum has already been built in, because we already have a large proportion of the population in the reproductive age bracket, and you can't do anything about that. Now, what we're saying is if we make the right investments in the emerging youthful population, it can actually become an asset. That's why I'm saying it can be a challenge depending on
what
how.
What sort of investments?
Investment in health, investment in education, investment in skill acquisition, investment in good governance, and so on. There are about 5 pillars. We call it investments that are necessary for harnessing the demographic dividend. The transition that Nigeria is moving towards is a transition from a child-based population to a youthful population. Hitherto, Nigeria had a child-based population where a larger proportion of the population were under the age of 15. But we're moving away thanks to improvement in health system that has reduced mortality. More and more of those children are growing up to become young people. And the experience has been, especially in the East Asian countries, has been that when a larger proportion of the population are in that bracket, working age bracket, youth, if appropriate investments are made on those that category of the population, then you have the potential to harness a dividend of the demography. We call it the demographic dividend.
Thank you so much,
yeah.
Dr. Yetunji, for being with us on Dateline Abuja.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure and an honor to be on this very important program of yours. Thank you very much.
If you live in Pape, Duse Makaranta, and Ushafa, I really hope you stuck to the Abuja master plan in your construction, because as you heard in our feature story, the demolition man is headed your way. However, there are long-term solutions that must be explored by the Nigerian government. We are a country of 36 states and 1 federal capital territory. If everyone from, let's say, 35 states are running into Abuja, what's going on in those states? A long-term solution will be to make each state economically viable in its own way, like it's practiced in the democracies we try to copy. That is Dateline Abuja this week. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to send us the happenings in your neighborhood using the social media handles showing right now on your screen. I am Kayla Megwa. See you next time.